Hey guys, Cleo here, and it's time to wrap up the month of September. Now for me, of course, there's still a lot of time to go because as in the past 2 months, I'm going to be doing this vlog style, so I'm going to be updating this video throughout the month. So we're choosing my old setup for today, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's a good choice because I look even more pale within this setup. I feel like I look dead. I also feel kind of dead because I've been exhausted for weeks, but okay. So, the month of September, Becca's bookoplathon, and I will be inserting my roles throughout this video so that you guys know what I've been rolling and what I've been reading for it. So, first 2 roles. So, with the old setup comes the old interruption by my cats. Roll number 1. Aha! From the first roll. So amazing. So I got the 9, which means... So I don't have the board with me just now, but roll number 9 means that I land on buildings. Alright guys, I'm far from done with Babel, but I usually like to have 2 books on the go at the same time, or even 3. And I actually have 2 on the go, but the second one was not, like, it's a carryover from August, which I at some point want to be able to fit into this board. So I finally printed the board. It is in black and white because, yeah, apparently the printer in our office didn't have color in it and I wasn't going to redo the things. So I also made my chance cards and my community shelf cards. The chance cards are books that I've had on my TBR the longest. So the books that I purchased on the 2nd of July when I reached 0 TBR. And then the... fate. And then the community shelf ones are basically kind of gifts to myself. I basically put some categories in there that correspond to some books that I need to read. So book clubs, read-alongs and stuff like that. And I actually put 5 times the same category in, which is prize, because I need to read for the BookTube prize. But so, here we go. Second roll for Becca's bookoplathon is an 8. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do not community shelf. All right, let's see what we got. Prize. Okay, so I'm reading a book for the BookTube prize for this one. Thank you for your lovely assistance, Fate. But so, first roll was to read a book with buildings on the cover, and we went with Babel by R.F. Kuang. So this is the Illumicrate edition out of its slipcase. Babel. Here's the sign. This is the Beautiful Spirit Edge, which is kind of destroyed a little bit because of my annotations. And do not sit down on my mic. Alright, here's hoping that you still hear me properly. But so, Babel is a dark academia fantasy book. Reads quite a lot more like a historical fiction dark academia book than an actual fantasy book, but there are fantastical elements within it. So in this one we are looking at our protagonist, Robin, who at the beginning of this story is dying on the floor of his house in Canton. All of his family members have passed away and he is about to succumb to plague. And he is saved by an English professor who takes him back to England, where he raises him in hopes of him entering into a prestigious institute at Oxford University specialized in translation. The book very much dives into colonialism and racism rife within these institutions. The institution of Babel, which is the translation center of Oxford, is basically at the center of the power of the empire. Translation is making it possible for the English to maintain their dominance over this new empire, and at the heart of that is a magic called silverwork. Silverwork basically works on the discrepancies between translations. Always within translation something is lost because words in different languages often aren't pure equivalents of one another, and so silverwork works within those little differences. Now, I've very much enjoyed this one a whole lot. It is definitely a very solid read for me, one that I will be thinking about for a very long time. Definitely a great read, but I will definitely say that it had a very slow build-up, and that the dark academia section, which, to be fair, the entire book has the dark academia aesthetic running through it. However, especially the first half of this book very much features into academia and very much features the atmosphere of the college campus, students working their ass off, the aspect of learning, of teaching. All of that is rife within the first half, and that for me was sort of like the weakest section because I think based off of this section that Dark Academia might not be my favorite. This is basically more or less my first Dark Academia, I believe, and I did definitely feel like things were moving way too slow within that section, but things definitely speed up a whole ton within the second half of this book. The thematic of colonialism and racism and all of that running through this is very well handled, though I will say it is very, very, very obvious. You know, it's not like it's hiding its thematics, it's making it very obvious what this book is discussing, but I don't necessarily think of that as a negative. I do definitely quite like that, but know that going in, it's kind of going to deliver these thematics on a silver platter, so to speak. But so yeah, I greatly enjoyed this one. It does not land on a 5-star for me just because of a lack of personal involvement on my side. For me personally, I just never got really emotionally involved, and I think that that has to do with R.F. Kuang's writing, because I have never been emotionally involved in any of her works. I've definitely appreciated and enjoyed, admired all of her works. However, I never have been devastated by them the way that the majority of her readers are. The second prompt that I got was to read a prize book, for which I read a book for the BookTube Prize final round of the translated subcategory. For this one, I read Disquiet by Zulfu Levanelli, I believe, but I could be completely wrong. I don't have a physical copy, and then I find it even more difficult to remember the name of the author. I'm not going to go into this book within this video. I'm going to have a separate video about the 6 books for the BookTube Prize final, so that I can go into those books and rank those books within that video separately, and so that this wrap-up doesn't become overly long. Alright, I've just finished my first book, so I'm going to be rolling again. I'm going to be rolling twice because I'm also about to finish another book. So, roll number 3, a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letter. So I need to pop up a random letter generator for that. Roll number 2, or like 4 actually, is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A Bacharach. Okay, that can be a problem. Alright, so for random letter Y, I don't know yet. Maybe I'll just reread the yellow wallpaper because that's just short. But in any case, nothing that I was supposed to read this month starts with the letter Y or has an author starting with the letter Y. Nothing on my TBR fits that bill neither. But so there are some options, of course, but most of them are long. So maybe the yellow wallpaper, we'll see. I'll think about it a little bit longer. But so for Bacharach, I'm also not so sure because Becca loves very long, lengthy, fancy books, and all the rest that she loves is more like smutty stuff, which is less my thing. So we'll see what I come up with. So she has a favorite shelves on her Goodreads, and I guess I'll check there first. So I guess something like The Hating Game would probably be relatively short. Golden Sun, nope, definitely not doing. That's also the second book in the series that I haven't started. Court of Silver Flames, nope. The Invisible Life of Adelaide LaRue, it's kind of something that I want to read at some point, but yeah, I'm definitely not adding that here. Final Empire already read. Assassin's Apprentice, I could do Ship of Magic, but that's a humongous book that I don't want to add. Fortuna Sworn, I guess, is relatively short, but I don't want to. It Ends With Us, no interest. Nevermore, kind of, but I don't want to start another series. Nevernight, no interest. Illuminate, no interest. The Furies, no interest. Orange, that's a manga series, maybe that would be doable. Sight, no interest. The Beast Player, no interest. Annihilation, I could potentially do Authority, second book in the Annihilation series. Fate of the Tearling, Empire of Storms, The Invasion of the Tearling, The Queen of the Tearling. There are more pages to this, okay. Okay, the 2 things that I have here would be Ship of Magic, which is way too long, or I've already forgotten what seemed to be like the Authority by Jeff Vandermeer seems to be the kind of like one that makes most sense because that's probably relatively short. But I do have some books that I need to read this month, and if I'm gonna put this one in here now, but that is how you do with rolling as you go, of course. You get these prompts, and now I need to finish these prompts, or otherwise I will fail. So do I take the risk of like putting these on pause? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put these on pause and roll 2 more times for my next 2 reads and hope something better comes up this time around. Will I instantly regret this? Probably. Roll number 5. So if I'm rolling a double, I need to roll twice and combine both prompts. So 10, 11, 12 is another community shelf, which is a short book, shortest is what it says. So should it be the absolute shortest? Maybe, but short, we will say. And we need to combine that, which is going to be difficult, of course, with 8, oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, that doesn't really make sense, but so for dice roll roulette, basically what the way that it plays out is you roll the dice and the amount of eyes or whatever, the number that you get determines the page count. So I'm guessing the shortest book that I have that fits that page count. So 9. So between 425 and 474. All right, let's see if I have something. Of course, nothing on the TBR that I want to get around to has a page count, so we'll have to, once again, move out of that. All right, I have 2 books on my shelf that fit that, which is A Stardust Thief and Kaikei. And so the shortest one of those 2 would be The Stardust Thief, which, I mean, I'm happy to be reading it. It's just that it is a page count that I wasn't planning on adding. Alright, starting to think that I should just continue reading the things that I have to read this month, and then when I'm finished with those, get back to Becca's bookoplathon and see if I can finish them, fit them in. But I'm gonna tempt fate and do 1 more roll and see what pops up. That would lead me with a total of 6 rolls for bookoplathon. Should I? I probably shouldn't, right? I shouldn't. I should just leave it at this, read the books that I have to read, and then go back to read the ones that I rolled now, and then hope to add some rolls and see if I can fit in the books that I've read in the meantime. But where's the fun in that? I mean, I have to read certain books. I definitely have to read certain books. But I'm gonna roll 1 more time. Here goes absolutely nothing, probably. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stop landing on community shelf. I mean, to be fair, the community shelf has good prompts for me. And this one is one of them. So another prize one. So these, I have 5 prize books that I need to read, and I've now landed 2 of them into bookoplathon. So yeah, okay. Happy with that. Hey guys, so I finished 3 more books, so I thought like I'd update you guys. So I finished prompts 3, 4, and 6, I believe. So for book starting with a Y, or author starting with a Y, I ended up having a much simpler time than I thought, because I went with Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan, Pia Guerra, and Jose Marsan. And so this is a graphic novel in which we are looking at a dystopian future in which all the men one day pass away except for one guy and one male monkey. I don't really know what to say about this one. I purely read it because of its title. I don't necessarily have much interest in continuing. But on the other hand, I also had an okay time with this. Next book that I finished was for Becca Rec. So that was a book recommended by Becca, who is the host for Becca's Bookoplathon. And so for this one, I ended up going with a Realm of the Elderlings book, but not a massive one like Ship of Magic. But I went with The Willful Princess and The Piebald Prince. So this is a novella that, as far as I could find, the only information I have about the reading order is that you should read it somewhere between finishing the first trilogy and starting the third trilogy, so somewhere between Farseer and the Tawnyman trilogy. And so this one gives more information about some prejudices that we see within the first trilogy of the Farseer trilogy, of the Realm of the Elderling. So within the first trilogy, we see that there's all of these prejudices surrounding the use of one of the magic systems, the use of the wit. And within this one, we're kind of getting to know a little bit of the details about why that would be. Now, I really enjoyed this one a whole lot. It is a nice story. It is beautifully told as ever. And you know, it was super interesting to get to know some of those things and to see some more insight into certain elements of this realm. But cannot say more. And then the final book that I've read so far within this month is The Brickmaker. So this is a book that I read for the final round of the BookTube prize, and so as a result I won't go into it within this video. Alright, let's tempt fate with another roll. So roll number 7, I think. Oh, come on. It's a double, so I need to combine. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I need to combine a book featuring a death with 10. My highest rated. Alright, let's see. Alright, so don't mind Babel there, because I haven't marked it as read yet, but so basically it would be the sort of Kaigen, but that just doesn't fit in with my current TBR, okay? So I'm gonna make an exception here, and I'm gonna choose a book from my top 5 highest rated books, which I assume will have a dead in it, and that's going to be Kings of the Wild, because I need to read it, okay? Don't come at me. Against my better judgment, I'm gonna also at the same time do roll 8s. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. TBR Vets. Is that good? No, not really, right? Alright guys, I'm just gonna be really kind to myself here, and I'm gonna choose to bend the rules a little bit, even further. So I am going to be reading a book featuring that, and then I'm going to combine my highest rated with my TBR vets. Because for TBR vets, I want to choose one of the 11 books that I have remaining from the 2nd of July, which is basically the oldest books on my bookshelf at this point in time. And so for that one, I'm going to be reading Kings of the Wild, and it is also in my top 5 of highest rated books. And then for book featuring that, I'm going to put in Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. Alright, roll number 9, I believe. So I really need these to be like easy ones for me to fit something. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pattern plus text. Let me check. Maybe, I think that can actually really work. So it's been a while since my last update because my audio wasn't working, and so now I'm using the audio of the camera because I need to go buy new batteries apparently. But so next thing that I finished, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This was for the Howling Pack book club, which is a book club hosted by Sasha from the Wild Sasha. So this is a high fantasy, but it is a high fantasy with like light tones, let's say. So high fantasy that doesn't take itself too seriously, basically. It is an action-packed, plot-heavy story with not too much focus on character work. So if you're somebody who really needs their character works in order to be able to enjoy a book, then perhaps this one won't be the one for you. But you know, if you've never read a high fantasy with sort of like light humorous tones, then maybe you still want to give it a go, because maybe you do find yourself enjoying it. So basically in this one we have a band of former mercenaries who decide to kind of team back up together in order to help out one of their daughters. So basically has-been mercenaries trying their best to help out their bandmate's daughter without being in the best shape of their life. I very much enjoyed this one. It's a fun ride, but I will say, like, at this point in time I already remember almost nothing about this book because it is a fun ride but a forgettable ride. So it's definitely a lot more like an escapist read, or maybe like a palate cleanser or something to read when you're in the mood for something that you can kind of turn your brain off for. One thing I do definitely have to mention about this one is that it includes the magical cure trope, which I absolutely despise. So in this one, at some point in time, one of these characters has a pretty big physical problem, let's call it like that, in order to avoid spoilers, and that is cured away by magic, and I just really don't like that. I really think that that is lazy writing, first of all, but also, like, how am I ever gonna get my disability rep if you guys keep doing that? So it is what it is. In this case, at least, there's some delay in like the cure working, so at least in like the combat that follows, we still see the impact that the physical problem would have had, but still, like, it's just so lazy. Just let them live with these disabilities, basically. Like, if you don't want your character to have a disability, then don't give them one. Don't give them one and then magic it away. I just really cannot deal with that. So that I did not like at all. But okay, aside from that, it was a fun ride, a quick ride, and yeah, as I said, very much a palate cleanser in case you want to read something light, something that you can fly through but not really put too much effort into. Alright, I'm gonna make another attempt at a roll. So I still have 2 books that I'm currently reading for 2 prompts. I also have a book that I've read that I didn't fit into any of these prompts, a book that I'm in the middle of that I didn't fit into these prompts, another book that I want to read this month that I don't fit in yet. So hopefully this next prompt we can do something with. 10. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Favorite setting. I don't have a favorite setting, I think. Maybe China? I do love my books set in China, and I do have a book that I still need to read set in China. I'm gonna use it. Favorite setting, definitely a book set in China already has a lot of chances for me to pick it up. So okay, that one we can use. So I'm gonna do another one. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Color wheel. Okay, I'm gonna have to use the random color wheel for a sec. Alright, that actually ends up being somewhat perfect, because one of the books that I still had to fit in is How to Order the Universe, which, I mean, it's not fully amber, but at least this suitcase definitely fits the amber color, and I'm gonna say that it's looking... Amber is kind of like between yellow and orange, and while this is pretty clearly orange, I'm gonna count it, and especially because of that suitcase. It is a prominent feature on the cover that has the exact color, so I'm counting this one for bookoplathon now as well. Actually, I don't actually think I need anything anymore. Yeah, I do have one book that I still need to read this month that I don't have a prompt fitted to yet. 6. How low are the chances of me actually fitting this in now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A Bacharach. It is definitely not a Bacharach, so probably this will be the role that I end on, you know, the role that I won't be able to fit in. But if I fit something in for all of the previous roles, then I will count all of those for Backless Bookoplathon. So I think that this will be the final role, and that most likely I will not be able to fit his prompts. Next, I finished 2 books that are for my BookTube Prize video. So I finished How to Order the Universe by Maria José Ferrara, translated by Elizabeth Breyer, and then I also finished The Anomaly by Hervé Letellier. So those 2 will be in my BookTube Prize video. Next thing that I finished is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. This is a reread for me, but I have never read the illustrated edition, which this one is. So Northern Lights is the first installment in his Dark Materials, which is a, like, I think people nowadays call it middle grade. At that point in time, middle grade was not a term in use, so it was just like children's literature. But it is children's literature with a layer to it that I don't think many children will pick up on. So this one is very much heavily critiquing organized religion, and so when I was a child that didn't really stick into my mind, maybe subconsciously, but definitely not consciously. But so that's a layer that I'm very eager to kind of explore more now that I'm reading this as an adult. And yeah, I have a little bit of difficulty with explaining this one, but so In this one, we're following Lyra, who is this young girl who was orphaned and who is raised within the college at Oxford. Now, in this world, people have demons. Basically, this is a sort of animal companion, and children's demons can kind of change shapes along with their moods, more or less, whereas adults' demons are a reflection of their pure self and therefore stay within one particular shape. The story kind of starts off when Lyra's uncle returns from an expedition up north, and he brings back certain research that he has done into the matter of dust. And dust will be a very important matter throughout this book, a matter that divides people, a matter that potentially will change the world as we know it. So I cannot say too much about this one because I find it very difficult to explain the plot of this one, but it was a very fun reread. I enjoyed going back through it. I had a little bit more problems with the beginning, getting into it, but then once I was in, I was really like completely sucked in, and the pages just kept on flying by because I was getting to the part of the book that I mainly remembered. It'll be interesting to see what happens with book 2 and 3 because I really don't have much memories of those two. Then I finished the final book for the BookTube prize, so I finished the Phone Box at the Edge of the World. So this is the final book that will be in the video that is coming next. But then the final book for this month is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. So this is the first book in the Sansi trilogy, I believe. Yes, the Sansi trilogy. So this is Arabian-inspired fantasy. It kind of uses some of the stories of 1001 Nights, I assume. I have never read 1001 Nights, but I assume that those are the stories are coming from there. In any case, one of the stories is kind of Aladdin, and that one definitely comes from 1001 Nights. So in this one we're following mainly three characters. Luli, who is the Midnight Merchant. She is basically somebody who is dealing in jinn relics, so she wanders through the desert with a magical compass and her jinn companion to find jinn relics and then sell them on the market as a way to earn her livelihood. The second character is Mason, who is a prince of the realm. He has been kept protected inside the palace throughout his childhood, but now he sometimes sneaks out to explore the world around him, and one of his deepest wishes would be to be able to go on an adventure into the desert. And then the third character is a character called Aisha. She is a jinn hunter, because in society, in this world, jinn are seen as very bad things, and so they must be hunted down and killed. And so Aisha is one of these people responsible for that. And so, through circumstances, they set out on a quest all together to find a magical lamp. I really enjoyed this one a whole lot. I know it's a lot of people who give criticism of this one say that it reads very YA, and I can understand that. It is very fast paced. It definitely has a lot of tropes that are typical for YA as well. And so I definitely think that this is a great book to read if you are regularly a YA reader and want to try adult. Is it necessarily adult? I don't know, it definitely lives in that sort of intermediate space between the two, but I just really love this one. I was swept away with the plot speed of this one. The pacing is super fast, especially in the first half, I feel like, and so I was just really carried along, and I felt like what it did that regular YA for me does not do is it surprised me. There definitely were points in the story in which it took turns that I didn't see coming. It made decisions that I was like, oh really, you're gonna go there? You're gonna do it like that? So I didn't find this one to be predictable in that sense. Also, when it comes to some of those certain tropes, I think in a typical YA, or in like the most stereotypical vision that we have of YA, some of those tropes would have gone down a very different path, a typical path, and here it didn't necessarily fully go there yet. So I very much enjoyed this one, but I will say that there was something that happened in the middle of the book that I didn't necessarily like. I wasn't fully sold on what happened in the middle there at some points, and my enjoyment also went down in the second half. I don't know whether that was because I was just still like, I don't know, salty about what happened in the middle of the book or not, because yeah, I cannot go into that, that's spoilers. But so in any case, there's also magical cure within this one, so another one that had that trope in it. It happens like at the beginning of the book, she's kind of selling a magical cure basically, and later on it's used on a certain injury, and so there again I also feel like, don't give her that injury if you don't want to deal with the consequences. But it is in this world from the beginning, but I would have just preferred for us to not include a magical cure, but it wasn't, you know, a huge plot point neither within this one, so I can kind of be like, okay, fine, whatever, you know. But so, the number will have been going down throughout this video, and if you've seen my previous wrap-up, you know that I'm now going to include the books that I bought this month, so this number needs to go back up. And so, we end the month on 28 books. So, one less than at the end of last month. And at the end of last month I kind of said like 30, 30 is a threshold, and so as long as I end up on 30 at the end of the month, I'm fine with that. But I'm no longer really fine with that, I think. I want to get it down because I still feel like that I cannot get to all the books that I have on my TBR as quickly as I would like to get to all the books on my TBR. And so I still want to kind of reduce it. I think I want to try and get down to 20. However, I don't have like a plan for it. It's not going to be like TBR 0 Project 2.0 or something. I'm not going to put a fixed plan and a sort of reward in place or anything like that. It's just going to be me chipping away at it until I get under that 20. It will not happen this year, I assume, because while in the month of October I am reading quite a bit off of my physical TBR normally, there is also this month of December that is still coming. So yeah, my hope is in 2023, early on in 2023, to get to under 20 and then kind of see from there whether that number works better for me. But so yeah, that was it for my September wrap-up. In terms of Becca's Bookopoly, I was able to reshuffle some of the prompts towards the end, so that at the end I was able to use 11 of the prompts that I rolled out of the 12 in total that I rolled, and so a streak of 11 for Becca's Bookopoly. And so yeah, I'm quite happy with how I did for Becca's Bookopoly. And next year I kind of want to keep my September fully free, so no commitments at all, in order to fully read as I go, roll as I go. I want to be able to next year fully do it the way that it's supposed to be done if you roll as you go, because the previous 2 times I think I have always had commitments and I've not been able to really fully mood read or fully let the board decide what I read, and so next year I want to be able to do that. But so yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys for the next one. Bye!